All right, we've already wedged. Next move is to set up the wheel and get ready to throw. Okay, so there's several things we want to make sure, understand the wheel. There's a power button always, right? It's either a toggle or a switch like this, and it can be usually forward or reverse. If you're right-handed, you want the wheel to go counterclockwise. If you're left-handed, you want the wheel to go clockwise, okay? I'm right-handed, so I'm going counterclockwise. Make sure that your wheel is going the right direction. Your foot feet is the cruise control, right? You can set it and then forget it, right? A lot of us, when we're first starting, it's not a good idea to leave your foot on the controller, because what happens is you're learning new things and you're trying new things with your body, you'll get confused and you'll start messing with the speed. Really, the best thing to do when you're starting is to set the speed, take your foot off, and forget about it. Honestly, it's the best. Next, I'm going to show you how to set up the wheel. Like all the tools that we need to throw, the bat, I'm going to show you all that. Here we go. All right, splash pans. That's the first thing I do when I set up the wheel, right? Wheel doesn't have anything on it. First thing, splash pans. It's easiest to do when you're sitting down, right? I try to encourage people to sit down in front of the wheel because you need some extra strength, right? This thing fits in there pretty tight. So this goes down. If it just goes in like that and moves all over the place, then you miss the mark, right? You gotta go down under that so it fits tight. And give it a little push, wiggle, until it stops, right? That's when it stops. That's good. Now the backside comes in at an angle like this, under, and just clips in. Super easy. Put this down before you put your bat on top of it, and it helps to keep things sturdy and not wobble. The bat has two different sets of holes on the back of it. We have the 3 marks. Can you see that? 3 divots, 3 marks. That's what you want to line up with the pins, okay? I need my glasses. The pins, line up the pins, scooch that over until it's on there. So here's the 3 marks. I'm gonna line that up with the pin, the bat pin on the wheel head. Scooch it over a bit till it sets down in the hole. Set the other side. That's half full bucket of water. Set that guy up there like that. I'm gonna clean off the wheel head, right? Because they need cleaned off, right? That's the first thing you're gonna do, is clean that wheel head off. Just turn it on, take your sponge, clean that thing off. Okay, that's it. Okay, so we've cleaned off the wheel head. Now we're gonna dry it off, right? If you've got a towel, you can use a towel to dry it off. You don't want the clay to be wet right now. You want dry hands and a dry wheel head. If you don't have a towel, you can just take the palm of your hand and just wipe it like that till it's dry. All right, so now that we've got nice dry surface, dry hands, no water yet, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on the wheel, right? And I'm gonna take one finger, dip it in the water, shake it off, and I'm gonna make myself a circle about yay big, right? That's where we're gonna try to center the clay. Let me grab my ball of clay. And the first thing we're gonna do here is set this in the center of that circle, right? The circle is just for a visual reference. That way we can find the center and set that ball of clay right in the middle, okay? That's it. Now I'm gonna take my hands and cup them, push down towards the bottom, not at the top, right? I'm at the bottom, pushing down, trying to get this thing stuck to the bat. All right, let's push down a little bit in a couple spots. All right, that's good. Now, I'm gonna turn it on about as slow as I can get the machine to go. That's perfect, right? And now I'm just gonna take I don't wanna hit this hard. I just wanna give it some pats down, again, not at the top. I'm trying to pat it so it sticks to the bat. So right at the base, I'm just gonna take my hands, give it some smacks, right towards the bottom. That's it, okay? All right, now we're on track to go. Hit the gas pedal, see what happens. It should not fly off, right? We've done all the work, it should not fly off. What happens, start over. All right, so, next step. We're gonna say hi to the clay. We're gonna grab some water, set it on the clay, right? and put our hands on there, right? We're just saying hi. Don't just start pushing on the clay, right? We're still not quite stuck down to the bat, and we're trying to smooth this thing out, right? So I'm just letting my hands ride on the clay, saying hello, right? Take a second, make some slip, right? Rub that around in your hands, make some slip. Get your hands good and gooey. Don't remember when you're when you're learning, water is our friend. As you get further and further down the road, you'll need less and less water, but don't worry. Don't be afraid to use some water when you're first starting. If you feel any kind of tension at all, or feel like it's grabbing or drying out at all, please get more water. It's only gonna help, okay? All right, now that we've got plenty of slip on our hands, right? We're gonna hold right at the very bottom, the bottom part of our hands, right down there on the bat, and just kind of hold that there and seal that up, okay? All right, great, good job. Next move is gonna be able to cone this up, right? So what we're trying to do is, you see this ball of clay that's on here is a little wobbly. It's not what we want. We want it to be a little bit smoother. And this first move is associated with really just pushing this into a cone and smoothing it out. And this is what that hand position looks like, okay? This is where our connection to our body comes from, okay? So my left elbow tucks in tightly to my left hip, and my left hand here, you can see, is following the shape, the contour of the cone, right? My right elbow comes out to my right knee out here, or the splash pan, whatever you want. But the idea here is that you want your hands, the heels of your hands, to be 180 degrees apart from each other, right? It does no good if your hands are over here like this trying to push on the clay. You're only gonna push the clay completely off center and have yourself a big problem. So this first move is to smooth out this lump and make a cone. I lean forwards with the left hand, which is attached to my body. So as I lean forward, that's where my strength comes from, right? I'm not trying to do this with my arms. I hold back with my right hand like this, and I'm just gonna show you once. I'm gonna lean forwards with my left hand, give it a little push, hold back with my right, and try to manage that as I come up until my hands come off the clay slowly. And so now what we have, right, is a lump of clay that is spinning smoothly. I took all the wobble and moved it out. Okay, I'm gonna show you that one more time. Push it down real quick. All right, here we go. Left hand on the side of the cone. Right hand, 180 degrees off from the other side. Lean forwards with my body and push with my left. Hold back with my right. Bring that up. Manage your pressure as you come up slowly until you're completely off. Now, there's a couple problems that I see all the time. The biggest one is that people try to use just the bottom of their hands, right? And so what that looks like is this. If you're having this problem, right, see how you're making more of a tower than you are a cone, and you end up with this, with something that looks like this, right? That means that you're using the bottom of your hands too much, right? So the way to fix that, right, is you want to lay your hand on the slope here. You can put a little extra pressure at the bottom when you first start, because that's where the work is, but you need to then move that pressure. Lean forwards, hold, and then you can see as I'm coming up to the top, I'm actually rolling my palms together a little bit so they touch at the top, and then come off slowly, right? Wedge it back up into a cone. Okay, we can do this several times. Push it back down. I'm going to show you how to do the push down thing here in a second. So we're wedging up, pushing down. This is actually called wedging on the wheel also. And then at the bottom, right? The bottom always has a little stuff. So trim up your bottom, make it clean, make it nice. So the way I do that is I take my right thumb, I hold it right down on the bat like this, and I kind of hold onto it, brace myself, and I just lightly take and clean up that edge a little bit. Take a little bit of stuff off there, okay? That's it. Okay, so this push down move that I'm talking about, I actually call karate chop hands, right? Karate chop hands. Looks like this. Again, left elbow tucked in tight like this, and my left hand is laying on the contour of the slope of the cone, okay? That's where it lays, right? Don't try to stand it up like this. It lays flat on the side. You want the meaty part of your hand right here to be on this top corner right there. Okay, that's where all the work is gonna happen, is right here. Okay, right hand karate chops over the top. So my right hand, the meaty part of my hand here, is right on top. I don't want you to be off center, I want you to be right on the center right there, okay? So left hand here like this with my thumb up, right hand karate chops over the top. You can see I've got a little angle. We don't need to be flat across the top. This thing's spinning in a circle. We don't have to work across the flat top. We only need to work halfway, so from center to here. All right, now the idea is here is, again, balance. So I grab my thumb, brace myself really well, and I start pushing down. Slowly down, down on this hand, and in on this hand, right? What's happening here, I'm pushing down and in, and what happens is if I push down too much on top and not enough on the side, you can see it develops this little ledge. The ledge is not what we want, right? So what that means is you're not pushing enough with the palm of your hand here, or you're pushing under with the bottom of your hand like this, which is not what you want either. You want to be pushing here, and watch what happens when I push in here. It's just going to fix that right up, right? You're going to push that right back into the ball of clay, right? So that's what the left hand is doing. You can't exactly see it in this, but if you can imagine, it's pushing in while my right hand is pushing down on top, okay? I'm pushing in and down, in and down, in and down. I'm gonna move my right hand out of the way so you can see that's where I'm pushing, is on that top corner right there. And I keep pushing down and in, down and in, down and in, down and in. And this last little bit's kind of tricky sometimes, right? Hold there for a couple of seconds and then release your hand slowly, right? It's a centered piece of clay right there. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And again, if you've got a little spot at the bottom here, you can take your thumb, clean up that bottom, true it up. Okay, all right, next move. We have coned, we have centered, right? So we now have a centered piece of clay. The next move is to drill a hole, right? That's it. There's no other step after that, one step at a time. This step is to drill a hole. So left hand open, palm up, right hand over the top, and kind of grab your hand like this. Set your fingers in that hole, right? Just stay there for a second. You put a little water in there, and then you're gonna push down slowly, right? You're gonna slowly push down, slowly pushing down, slowly pushing down. And what is our thought here? Our thought is that we don't wanna go too deep, right? So if you feel like you've gone a little ways, we wanna at least leave like 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. We can always go a little bit more. It's a whole different ball game to put some back. So always leave yourself a little extra. It's so much easier than making the bottom too thin. So especially learning, don't be afraid to leave yourself a little extra. You can always make it thinner. You can't put back once it's gone though, okay? So then I'm gonna take my needle tool, shut off the wheel. I'm gonna take this needle tool and stick it right down to the bottom, just like that, okay? Take my right hand, I'm gonna slide right down, touch the top of the clay, pull the whole thing out, and that's a strong 3/4 of an inch, okay? That's just fine. It's exactly what we want, okay? So if you need to go a little bit more at this point, go a little bit more, but don't go too much, okay? We need the extra clay, and you're gonna see why here in 2 seconds, okay? All right, so that step is over. The hole is drilled. There's nothing more to do there, okay? Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the same 2 fingers that we drilled with. This time I'm gonna curl them over like this so that they're flat on top, right? I want my hand to be laid flat or down a little bit even. My fingers over the top like that. My left 2 fingers come over the top like this. Now there's a couple things to think about here. If you can imagine the bottom of your bowl, you want to try to pull flat if you can. When I hook my fingers, find the bottom, I'm going to try to pull flat. If you pull down a little bit, it's okay because we've left a little extra clay. All right, here we go. Find that bottom, get myself braced. Slowly start pulling straight towards me. Slowly pulling towards me. Slowly pulling towards me. You can see that it's opening up. Now, the big question is when do we stop? There has to be a point to stop, right? So what we're watching for here is this, right? Can you see this out here? this is straight up and down. If you go any further past, let me show you here what happens if I go a little further past, right? Then it starts bulging out, right? Things start getting out of control. You don't want this to come out past the base. That is not what you want. You want to stop before that. Just doing this to show you. You don't want to open this up like I have now past the base. The base is the stop, okay? So I'm gonna push this back in and show you, right? So I'm gonna push this back in, right? That's what you want. You don't want, you wanna pull open until it's straight up and down. Don't pull open past the base. That's it. All right. Now that we have opened, right, and we're looking pretty good, right, the next thing to do is to compress the bottom, right? Another step that people run right by, but it is a necessary step, okay? So most of us don't pull the bottoms very flat. Doesn't matter. We've left enough there to fix it. So this looks like this. I use a sponge, and I start in the middle, right? And I work from the middle, and I push down a little bit, and slowly work out to the edge, and I slowly work out to about 2 o'clock, right? And I'll get back to the middle because I'm actually very thick. I've left myself plenty of clay. So I'm gonna keep moving some clay out to the edge. So I'm taking the clay from the middle and I'm pushing it out to the wall, right? So I'm so thick in the middle that if I leave that in there, then I'm gonna not have as much clay to play with in the sidewalls, which is how tall can I make the piece. So I'm going to try to push some of this clay that I left in the bottom out to the sidewalls and kind of recover it a little bit, right? If you don't have enough to begin with, that's a bigger problem. But again, even if you make the bottom perfect, you need to do some compression, right? This is called compressing the bottom, and I know a lot of people say a lot of things about whether or not to do this, whether you need to do this, blah, 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 blah. Take 2 seconds and do this. It doesn't hurt a thing, right? So what you're trying to do is compress the bottom. We do a lot of work on the sides. We're gonna do a lot of things. We're gonna compress and work on the clay molecules a lot on the side. We don't touch the bottom too much anymore at all. So the idea is that we're going to compress the bottom so that it's even. So that way when it starts to dry, it will dry evenly. That's the whole premise of that. So we want to compress the bottom so we don't have the S-cracks. Okay, enough about S-cracks. That's it. Make sure you compress the bottom, flatten it out, and this is the start of your bowl right now. It looks like maybe I'm still a little wobbly, okay? And at this point, it can be, right? You've done a lot of work. You pulled it open, you pushed on the bottom, you pushed some clay into the walls. It can be kind of messy. This is our last chance before we start making walls to really get this thing as centered and as good as we can. It's helpful to fix any problems right now. It will only let you have more fun. And so, one more move to fix. This is it. Okay, so again, I'm going to take my left hand here like this, and I'm going to push up against this outside wall as flat as I can. My right hand comes over the top, where my hands meet, right here. That's where all the work is being done, okay? Right where they meet, right at that spot. So I want to take and push down a little bit. I'm trying to push down on the rim, right here, okay? Pushing down on the rim and in with my left hand, pushing down and in a little bit, and I'm holding now, just holding right there, pause, and then relax, okay? See how that trued that whole piece back up? That's great. So now I'm gonna clean up the bottom a little bit with my thumbnail, true up that bottom. All right, very good. Let's see what we got in here. Clean the bottom out every now and again. All right, that looks like a pretty good place to start, okay? All right. So we are now ready to start making walls, okay? All right, first thing we do when we start making walls is we are going to make some visual references, right? Make some marks, make some lines. And you're gonna slowly turn that back on until your eyes can't quite focus on those lines, right? So this is gonna be considerably slower than what we've been doing. When we're working with a big mass of clay, we want the speed to be fast, right? When we are gonna start now doing a little bit more finesse, then we slow the work down, okay? All right, here we go. Next hand position is butterfly hands, right? I'm gonna lock my thumbs like this, butterfly hands, right? Right, so I want you to think about using the sides of your fingers like this, right? Try not to turn your fingers around and use your fingertips. Not what we want. This is what we want. But you can see that the longest fingers here are these guys, right? That's not what I want. So I gotta curl those guys up, curl them up, right? So that way they help give these guys strength too. If these guys are here by themselves, they got no strength. So give them some help. Curl these guys up next to them. All right? So what that looks like is this. What we're trying to do, this step, the whole point of this step is to make a cylinder, right? So to make a cylinder, it's a straight walled, even walled thing. We're trying to make this wall as even as possible. And by even, I mean thickness even, right? We're trying to make it evenly thick all the way up, okay? How we do that? Find the inside bottom and the outside bottom. All right, we're gonna give it a little squeeze of clay together. When I say a little squeeze, I'm trying to squeeze together my two fingers there, okay? Gonna give it a little squeeze. I'm gonna hold there on the bottom for several revolutions and get myself braced, get myself ready for this move. Make sure that I'm okay. And then when I'm ready, I'm slowly going to start working my way up. Slow and steady. When I get to the rim, I'm gonna pause there for a couple revolutions and then slowly take my hands off, okay? That's the idea. What are we trying to do here? We're trying to make a cylinder. We're trying to take the clay that's thick. We're trying to squeeze it together a little bit and bring it up. This piece should be getting taller and taller with each move, right? It doesn't have to get a lot taller, right? All we're trying to do is a little bit of a time. If this takes you 5 or 6 times, it's no big deal. If you're too aggressive with this, you can cause yourself all kinds of grief, so I suggest slow and steady. Slow and steady is always your best bet. So again, I'm gonna stay right here at the bottom, get a little squeeze of clay. I'm squeezing from the inside as well as from the outside. See this little bump developing here? That means my finger is actually getting under there, okay? Make sure you got plenty of slip on your hands, plenty of water. If things are drying out, take a second. All right, here I am. We're gonna give it a little squeeze and then slowly coming up. Slowly coming up. All the way to the top. You're gonna pause at the rim and then you're gonna relax, okay? Relax your hands off slow, always nice and slow. All right, so that's the work. We're gonna keep doing this, okay? I'm gonna show you several more times. Remember, don't just find the bottom and take off running. That is not the point. All the clay is at the bottom. So if you start at the bottom and then hurry to the top, you're gonna miss all the work, okay? Find the bottom, start at the bottom. Get yourself comfortable, get yourself braced, give it a little squeeze, and then slowly coming up. Slowly coming up, slowly coming up. All right, you're gonna get to the rim, and you're gonna pause there. And then you're gonna relax. So we've done this a few times, right? So now that we've done it a few times, maybe we don't need to be so aggressive. We're getting very close. Like the wall thickness is very even. I've got a little extra at the bottom, but the side walls up here are really pretty good. You can see it might be a little thicker than you think it might need to be. Don't forget that we are gonna open this up into a shape. So when you're learning how, leave it a little thicker. That's not a problem. We can trim it, we can do a lot. If you make it too thin, especially when you're learning, that's when all the problems start, okay? So don't worry about being a little bit too thick. Not right now. All right, I'm gonna find the bottom again outside, find the bottom inside. Butterfly hands, give a little squeeze at the bottom from the inside and from the outside. Hold my fingers nice and braced, and then slowly coming up. Slowly coming up, slowly coming up, slowly coming up. And I'm gonna get to the rim, I'm gonna pause there, and then relax my hands, okay? You see how the piece got taller, right? We've almost doubled the height of it. We're gonna do this one more time, probably. Give a little squeeze at the bottom, squeeze on the inside, hold braced, and then slowly coming up. Slowly coming up, slowly coming up. pause at the rim, and then we're gonna relax. So what we've got there is a nice, tall, even-walled cylinder. I'm gonna take some of the lake that I put in the bottom. I mean, you're always constantly putting water in there. You can keep just cleaning it out. You're gonna put more back in. Just give you an idea where you're at. Look down the wall, straight down the wall, run your fingers up and down here, and I can see, like you'll be able to see if it's too narrow, if it's too wide. Okay, so this is what we're looking at, right? I'm gonna take my fingers and I'm just gonna run them straight down the sidewall, all the way down, all the way back up. So my fingers are going nice and even all the way up and down. There's no, if it was wide at the bottom, they would go away from themselves. If they come back up to the top, they'd be narrow, but this is nice and even all the way. Nice and even, all the way up and down. That's what we want. Okay, so the last step is complete. We've made a cylinder with even walls. That's a step. That step is now done. We are no longer going to pinch and try to make this any taller. That is over, right? That work is done. We've now got an even walled cylinder. Now we're gonna make a shape, okay? And we're gonna start with a bowl. Butterfly hands, right? We're no longer pinching. That is not what we're doing here, okay? So you still wanna be very braced, keep your elbows tight to your body. But now my inside finger is the one doing all the work. This outside finger, I want you to get used to using your hands together. So they're gonna continue to be locked. That way you have a body connection, right? Now I'm gonna start at the bottom. I find the inside bottom with this finger. And if you can imagine, I'm gonna start going up and out, up and out, up and out. I do not want to find the bottom and start pushing out right at the bottom. That is not what I want. That's not beneficial. We want the top to be more open than the bottom. This is a bowl we're making. All right, let me show you what this looks like. Okay, get a little water. Make sure you got some slip on your hands. Brace yourself. Now you can find the inside bottom and just let your finger rest there, right? Get yourself comfortable. Get yourself braced. Don't be afraid to touch the clay as long as it's spinning. Just don't start pushing on it until you're ready, okay? Now that I've got myself braced and I'm ready, my first move is to come up a little bit and then out, up and out, nice and gently. I don't want to try to go too much, too fast. Remember, we're naturally stretching the clay, right? So what happens now is if I let off too fast, right? See, I put a little wobble in it, right? Not what we want. This is why from here on, we're always hands on and off the clay very slowly. Right, trying not to cause it any grief, right? We've become friends this far. We don't want to wreck it now, right? All right, so you're gonna again find the bottom. I'm slowly gonna come up and out, and I'm pushing out more at the top than I am at the bottom, right? I want this to be a bowl. I'm gonna pause at the rim for a couple revolutions and then gently take my finger off from the inside. That way it doesn't disturb it, right? Everything's copacetic. All right, so now at the very bottom, now that I've got this kind of bowl shape started, now I can fix this bottom a little bit. I'm going to start at the very bottom corner. I have a tiny little ledge I'm going to work on. I'm going to slowly start pushing out just a little bit. This finger's again just along for the ride, pushing out and then gently up, out and gently up, out and gently up. I'm going to pause there and relax. Find that inside bottom corner with my finger right here. And then remember, my first move is to come up and then gently out, up and gently out, nice and slowly, up and gently out until I get to the rim. I'm gonna give it a little extra push at the rim, pause, and then relax slowly. Okay, you can see the shape of the bowl starting, right? All right, this doesn't have to be done in one shot. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't be done in one shot. We don't want to stretch the clay too far, too fast, okay? So again, find that inside bottom. Don't push out right at the bottom. Do not, all right? First move is gently up and then gently out. Gently up and gently out. Constantly moving up, always moving up and gently moving out, right? Pause at the rim, couple revolutions, and then relax your hand off slowly. Very good. All right, now that I've got this rim opened up, you can see the shape of the bowl. I'm gonna give this inside bottom a little push now to blend in the inside here, okay? So I'm gonna find that inside bottom corner with my inside finger. My right finger is just along for the ride. Now I'm gonna give this a gentle push
straight out, nice and easy. Now I'm gonna start coming up and out, up and out, up and out. I'm gonna pause at the rim here and then relax, okay? That's that. Now if we look on the inside here, you got a nice, smooth, even slope. And the bowl is pretty much a bowl, right? That's it. All right, we've got one more. That is it. That is the shape of your bowl. We're gonna consider this bowl done, okay? That is shaping. Now, obviously you can see how much we've thinned the rim, right? Compared to how thick it was before. The rim is much thinner. That kind of decides for us. We've naturally thinned it as we've opened it. We've naturally shortened it. It was as tall as it was ever going to be as a cylinder. And as we open it, it gets shorter and thinner, right? So that's the deal. If you want to go more open, it's going to get shorter yet. It'll be a shallower bowl. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up this mess here. Okay, so this takes a little something to do, but this helps you on your trimming, okay? So I grab this tool with the pointy end, looking down like this, right? And I kind of imagine what shape I want this thing. I'm gonna try to get rid of this so it's not such a big deal to trim next time I see it, okay? So I'm gonna start about right there. I'm gonna slowly start pushing down and in, slowly start pushing down and in, following the contour of the bowl, until I get to the bat. Go around a few revolutions, slowly take this out of the way. Take my needle tool, right? I'm gonna try to lay that guy flat on there like this. I'm gonna come in and cut underneath now and take that guy out of there. Shut the wheel off, give this a little slice. And then I'm gonna peel this guy. Of course, it's not gonna work. Peel this guy out of here, all the way around. And that should have worked a lot nicer. Such is life. There we go. All right, that's out of the way. That just makes it so much easier to trim. Then you don't have all that stuff to trim, all that crap to trim off next time. Okay, it's done. You gotta make sure all the water is out of it and off of it. You wanna get rid of all that standing water. The very last thing you can do is take this guy right at the bottom here and give me a little groove, cut a little groove in right there. That way tomorrow morning when I come in to cut off these pots, my wire tool will slide right underneath of it, okay? That's how we do it at this studio, okay? And the last thing to do is to pick up your bat off of the wheel head, right? That's it, pick it up off of there. You can write your name in mud if you want, and then put it on the shelf, the freshly thrown pot shelf. Bye.